Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. To the kingdom of Israel!
Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua.
The election, an aristocracy, meaning rule of the best, a group or class considered superior to others, a government by the best men in the state, a governing body composed of the best men in the state, and that's the elect. We're about to have it all right? Psalms 37 and verse 11, and it reads, "But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness in body, meaning we're going to truly have rest, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. We're going to rule and exist within the Lord's creation as we were created to do. I'm ready to rule the world, man. How about you?
Let the golden light of this sunset guide our hearts in peace.
How about Shemel Shah? Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures, to faith in Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. All right, and what I want to get into this morning, this morning news and prophecy, All right, the destructive beast system. All right, and here it is. This devil, already has a society, a system that runs the earth, that destroys the earth already. His industrial, you know, when you go into his industrial, economy, the industrial boom, and his factories. Okay, the material that he creates, the plastics and the process of making particular chemicals and so forth and so on. All these things destroy the earth. Okay, and here it is that he's wanting to transition to a new world order, where the infrastructure to the new world order, all right, is even more destructive than the current system he has now. Okay, so all this man Esau Edom knows how to do is destroy. And Yahweh Shai told us that, man, let's get some precepts. Okay, because like I said, he already has a system, his infrastructure, okay, that destroys the earth. All right. And now he wants to bring in a new system that destroys the earth even more. And see, when you read the book of Matthew 24 and 22, it says, "In the step those days shall be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened," man. Because the Esau is making the earth uninhabitable, man. Okay, he's making drinking water undrinkable. Okay, he's making all right, the air, all right, unbreathable. Okay, he's making the food uneatable, man. Okay, and he's making people, all right, less and less useless in the earth. People, all right, now, because you got the children, you have the schools talking about the children can't read anymore. Children are becoming illiterate. The earth is turning into a caveman. All right, Esau is turning into a caveman, and he's turning the earth and people into cavemen with him. Okay, this man is going backwards, and this is how we know that the Lord is getting ready to intervene, man. And that's the good news, is that the Lord is getting ready to intervene with Esau, man. All right, because Esau can only do one thing. Well, let me see. He has one nature, okay, and it's very destructive. Okay, his nature is very destructive, and that's just who this nigga is, man. He can't be. You see, people have this expectation for Esau, all right, to do right. If they just vote the right way. You see, if people just come together and do this and that, and then Esau Esau not gonna do right. It's not in him to do right. Okay, Yahweh Shai gave us a rundown on this nigga, and that's all he's been doing. St. John 10 and 10, the thief, which is Esau, coming not but for to steal, kill, and destroy. That's all he can do. Okay? Having an expectation beyond this nigga stealing, killing, and destroying, well, you're going to be disappointed, man. This is all Esau can do. Okay? And that's why the only thing that makes sense is to remove this nigga from power and eventually remove this nigga from the earth, man. After this 1,000 years of captivity he has to serve with these heathens, man. The only judgment that makes sense, the only solution is the solution of the Bible. Okay, and as people, more and more are exposing the devil, for how he moved, what he's really up to, what he's trying to pull off. There's a lot of people exposing it, but then they always fumble when it comes to the solution. Well, the solution in the scriptures, man. Destroy them that destroy the earth. You see? Easy. Okay? It says the thief coming not but for to steal and kill and destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly, man. And Yahweh Shai, he's coming to bring abundance back to the earth, man. Because the earth is gonna begin to restore itself, man, to its strength under the rulership of Yahweh Shai. As the scriptures speak about, the Lord's gonna put one over it that is profitable, man. Okay, and the one that's profitable is Yahweh Shai. Okay, it's time for the earth to be under a righteous rulership and flourish, man. It's time for abundance, man. Okay, this is a rulership of scarcity. All right, this is a rulership of uncertainty. Okay, this is a rulership of violence. This is a rulership of manipulation, witchcraft, darkness, death, sickness. Okay, This ain't what the Lord intended for the state of the earth to be like. This is a temporary situation, and as we, are learning to appreciate righteousness, okay, the Lord is getting ready to make his move. Okay. The Lord is getting ready to make his move and remove Esau from power, man. Move all these heathens from any type of power, man. That's why scripture say on his head were many crowns. That's Yahweh Shai coming to get all the authority from the earth, man. Because it's all been misused by Esau and these heathens, man. Okay, let's get a few of them out the comment board. This the brother GMS Spiritual Art 144. Habakkuk 2:4 says, Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith, man. Okay, so the spirit that's in Esau just ain't right. Okay, there's nothing that you can do. There's no type of special government. Okay, there's no type of laws you can add to the Constitution. Okay, there's no new style of economy that's gonna know this nigga ain't right, man. As long as this nigga is in authority, nothing will never be right. Okay, because he's built to destroy. He's built to take peace from the earth. He's built to cause confusion. Okay, that's just who he is. He's the nation of chaos, man. Okay, and this is why the Lord has it slated for them to be eradicated. The Lord don't got Esau being eradicated just cause, man. The Lord knows that this nigga, all right, is not needed in existence, man. Okay, he's at the end of his rulership. His rulership was intended to teach a lesson, all right, first to the sons of God and the people of Israel, to appreciate our power and to appreciate righteousness, man. And he was an example of what wickedness looks like unchecked. Okay, he's an example to these nations of what rebellion against the Most High, how it ends. You see, these nations are going to see, okay, this is how it ends to rebel against the Most High. No matter how much power, because the Lord allowed this devil to become powerful, wealthy, strong militarily. All right, but his destruction is going to be a message to the nations like, this is the results of rebellion. Okay, see, the Lord finna set, all right, a standard, okay, with the devil, man. You see, verse 5, and the just live by faith that the Lord gonna do it. It said the just shall live by faith, because we coming into the times, man, we have to believe that the Lord is going to do that. Okay, because the devil, he's finna make his last move as if he's finna establish something, all right, beyond this current system, as if he's finna establish, all right, a new world order, okay, that's going to stand. You see, but we know that he's only going to get so far for the Lord intervenes. And the Lord is finna come establish a righteous kingdom. See, we got to live by that faith, especially in these times as we get close to that moment, man. And that's why we got to pray for the courage to execute in the clutch, man. Habakkuk 2:5, it says, yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire is hell, and is deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations and heaping unto him all people. Okay, so this man has transgressed by wine. He's drunk off his own supply. He believes he's a God. He believes that he can't go down. He believes that he has this thing figured out. He believes that he's able to replace the Most High with technology. Man, he's become a proud man. He thinks that he's transcended beyond, being the mere mortal. Okay. This is this man drunk off his own wine, and he's going through the earth, pushing his agenda, okay, to establish, this control system, man. It's not enough that he has people enslaved, to, his economy, okay. It's not enough, all right, that people, all right, the earth is influenced, okay, by his doctrine. You see, it's not enough that people are enslaved, that labor, people, most of the world is a labor slave to Esau system. Most of these devils, they make their money, all right, in what they call these developing nations. Okay, where they get this cheap slave labor. That's why a lot of manufacturing left America to go abroad to get this cheap slave labor, man. So he's not even satisfied with that. He's not satisfied with 92% of the world's wealth going to 1% of the population. This nigga, he's not satisfied. You know, that he's not satisfied with anything, man. That's why he will always want more. Okay, to his own destruction. You see, Esau was too ambitious for his own good, and it's a wicked ambition, man. You see, so let's go here. Let's keep getting a few more. Yep, this is another from the brother GMS Spiritual Art. Proverbs 16:4 said, "The Lord have made all things for Himself, yeah, even the wicked for the day of evil." Okay, so the Lord created Esau just for this moment. Okay, Esau, the nation chosen to be an example of what it looks like to rebel against Yahweh Bashim al-Shai. He's the latest example. You know, Nimrod was an example of that, going back to the ancient Tower of Babel, you know, which there was a rebellion. Okay. Now Esau is going to be a much, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah was an example of rebellion. That culture, that Canaanite culture, that was in complete rebellion to Yahweh Bashim al-Shai. Sodom and Gomorrah was an example. The flood was an example of a rebellion, man. Okay, so America is going to be the latest example, all right, of a rebellion, all right, to show these nations, okay, this is how rebellion is. Okay, in fact, let's get that. Let's go here. Let's get that. Let's get that in the book of Job, and then we'll segue to this video. I got one main video. Let most of it play. Quite a bit of a few points in there. Okay, but this is on Job 21, and in 14 it said, "Therefore they say unto the Most High, depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of thy ways." Okay, and this man's new world order is him, you know, pushing society even further away from the Most High. Okay, and more under his control. You see, you know, that's why he pushes, you know, rebellion. You see, rebellion is rewarded in this society, man. Okay, that's why the worst people are in the highest places in this kingdom, man, because rebellion against Yahweh Bashim al-Shai is rewarded in this society, man. Okay, so this man has in his mind that he's going to create a new world order that completely just X's out the Most High. Any way of righteousness. Okay, you think if this man had a new world order and it was up and running for 50 years, you think the Bible would be a thing? He will have a whole new Bible. Okay, that has nothing to do with the Lord. You see, this is the mind of the devil, man. All right, this ain't just a nigga that just money hungry, man. This nigga is you know, this nigga's ambition goes beyond money. It goes to the point to where he thinks that he can replace the Most High, man. That's really in this man's mind. All right, verse 15. What is the Almighty that we should serve him? And what profit should we have if we pray unto him? Because Esau, he's been able to prosper in wickedness, man. Okay, so in his mind, like, look, we can bless ourselves. We can. Why would we submit, you know, to this God? All right, to this higher power, when we've been prospering in wickedness and we've been able to bless ourselves. That's his way of thinking, man. You know, the scriptures go into the mind of Esau. Okay, and this is how the higher ups think. You see, and they want everyone else to think like this. That's why they want to put technology inside you, man. That's why they want to get into your neurological system, man. Okay, they want to put technology in you to make you think a certain way. Because even with this technology, the control grid, remember, it's going to be a social credit system, which is going to be a hyper behavior modification system, man. Okay, and how you think that he's going to want to modify your behavior? Because he's already doing it now, making people anti-Messiah. Okay, that's why we get so much kickback when we go into the scriptures. That's why you got to tiptoe around the earth to be righteous, man, because of the standard he set in the earth, man. Okay, he normalized being anti-Messiah, being Satan. All right, being a damn Satanist, man. Okay, a Satanist will have more comfort in this world than someone that truly believes the Bible. Okay, verse 17 said, how often is the candle of the wicked put out? So how often does the Lord have to destroy a wicked empire? Okay, how often coming their destruction upon them, the Most High distributed sorrows, all right, in his anger. You see? So you've had a wicked empire that have provoked the Lord to anger, and he will show his power. He will come with righteous judgment, man. All right, and this kingdom is no different. All right, we're right here at the doorsteps of righteous judgment, man, because I say no flesh will make it with this nigga, man. You know, he only comes up with more ways to destroy and take. Okay? Verse 18 said, they are as stubble before the wind, and as chaff that the storm carrieth away, man. That's going to be the nuclear destruction. Okay, in those chariots, man. You know, it's going to put a complete end to this man's kingdom. All right, and begin his captivity. Okay, along with these other nations, man. Okay, so let's go from there. I want to play this video. As we know, you know, what's been the main thing is what the data centers, man. People are really, all right, beginning to, you know, revolt, you know, and cause, all right, an uproar. Okay, so let's play this, man. Like I said, the little chick she finna bring on the interview. All right, she's gonna go into some things, man. So let's play this.
You're rolling out what they're telling you, and clearly they believe, is the single greatest technological change in the history of human life on this planet. It's the biggest thing that's ever happened, ever. Then you think one of your main concerns would be, well, does this change the relationship of the powerless to the powerful, the relationship of the citizen to the state, for example? One of your concerns would be, how do we do this and bring about the prosperity that it promises without totally eliminating human rights, making people slaves? Because we're against slavery, right? Aren't we against slavery? We were. How do we do that? But that doesn't seem to be Larry Fink's main concern. His main concern is, how do we protect our investment, this infrastructure, these buildings, these data centers? Someone could drone them. Someone could drone them. Now, who? Foreign actors? Hezbollah? Hamas? No, just people. Larry Fink is concerned that ordinary American citizens, as he just said, will use $3,000 drones to destroy these billion-dollar investments. Why would he be worried about that?
That's the sound of an American oil company. Hard at work. Want to be a part of it? Listen up.
Hello, my name is Adam.
Well, I'll tell you why he would be worried about that, and that is because data centers are taking up people's resources. Recently, Lake Tahoe, Nevada Energy, Nevada's main utility, has told Liberty Utilities, which serves about 49,000 residents around Tahoe, that it will stop supplying them power after May of 2027 because it needs that capacity for data centers in northern Nevada.
So you have a power company, all right, in Nevada that's told 49,000 residents that they're going to stop supplying them with power because they need that power for AI-driven data centers. Okay, 49, all right, customers, 49,000 customers. Now, that's 49,000 households, you know? So you do 2 or 3 people, you know, just average, you know, just say 3. You know, give or take, you know, it's close to 150,000 people, okay, that they're saying, look, scram. Okay, we need this electricity for the data centers, man. Esau is getting ready to choose his technology over the masses, man. You know, he's hyping it up, telling you about this high basic income. People think they just finna get these checks while AI does the work, and they just get to, you know, skip around and enjoy the earth while AI is doing the work, and you getting this, you know, because he called it must call the UBI, you know, universal basic income, and then he says high universal basic income. Just threw that word in there just for an enchantment, okay, for deception. You see? But then on the other side, he's saying, well, look, 49,000 customers. Look, we just gonna stop supplying them with power for the AI data centers. 2027, May 2027, which is another year. Okay. So this lets you know that he's getting ready to depopulate as well, man. He's getting ready to get rid of a lot of people. All right, to make way for energy that he needs for these data centers, man. He got data centers that he can't even power. He can't even turn on. He can build them, but he can't turn them on because he needs the power. Okay, and who's in the way of, all right, his power and his resources needed for the data centers? People. Okay, and that's why you keep getting, these narratives. You got about 3, viruses. You got the Hunter virus. Okay, you got Ebola back on the scene. Okay, and there was another one. I forgot the name of this quick, but yeah, man. The energy crisis. The food crisis. This. He's getting ready to get rid of a lot of people, man, because he needs to clear, all right, the grid for his data centers, man. Okay. So let's play a little more.
So that is taking energy, electricity away from residents of Nevada to give it to data centers. And it's not just the electricity that's at risk, it's also water. There's an uprising going on in Arkansas, a small community there that is worried that their water resources will be used for data centers. Data centers drink loads and loads of water per day, really per minute. They use about 17 billion gallons of water annually so far, with expectations that this demand will at least double or even quadruple as AI-driven computing expands. So lots of areas where they're thinking about sticking these data centers, which are places like Nevada, places like Phoenix that are already arid deserts with very few water resources. The data centers are booming. And people are worried that their water resources are going to be diverted to data centers. And with good reason, because when Lake Tahoe's energy says, you know what, people, I know there's 49,000 of you, but we have a better deal making money off of the data centers. We're going to supply them with energy. Well, that I think is what would cause people to eventually riot, uprise, and maybe drone these data centers or destroy them in some way as an act of rebellion to get rid of them in order to gain the resources back. This feels it does feel matrixy, right? I mean, this does feel dystopian, like all of our resources as humans are going to be used for the computers, and the computers that are smarter than us, and now even some are saying might have consciousness. People are now debating whether or not AI has consciousness. We are living in a movie. And so these robots with consciousness will realize they need the water, they need the electricity to live, and they see us needing water and electricity to live. And they probably look at us and say, yeah, but you guys are parasites because you cause a lot of war and problems and damage according to our logical, analytical, computing brains. And so we've got to get rid of you. You're basically a cockroach.
And then this devil pushes, the AI, as if it's gaining consciousness, okay, to get people to be in awe. Because remember, the scripture is about a lying wonder, and the wonder is the technology itself. You go into the Greek word samion, which means to transcend, the common course of nature, So because this AI, is able to do, extraordinary things in certain tasks, it's computing the way it's able to compute, with speed. Okay, is able to do particular things, organize and do particular things with extraordinary, ability. Okay, it's a wonder, which is coming out. It's a lot. We go into it how it has a lot of limitations and it has a lot of hype to it as well. Okay, and that's where you get the lying wonder. He's lying. Okay, the AI can never have consciousness. That means that it has a spirit. And that means that Esau can conjure up a spirit out of nothing. That means he can create a spirit out of nothing. That will make him the Most High. Okay? And he's nowhere near that, man. All right? So he does that to have people in awe. you know, to gaslight people as if they're going to have to catch up with this AI, all right, which is going to push people to merge with technology so they can catch up, okay, so they can stay relevant, you see. And also he pushes the AI having consciousness, so when he does wickedness, well, he can just blame it on the AI went rogue, you know. The AI went rogue. The AI is doing its own thing. We not, but the whole time it's him, man. Okay, it's this nigga. You see, so this whole debate about AI gaining consciousness, man, he put those debates out there. He put those arguments out there. Okay, so let's because I say if you remove the human input, if you shut down the data centers, the AI won't be able to do anything, man. Okay, so let's play some more.
And so, yeah, I could see why there could be uprisings, why Larry Fink would be worried about people, regular people, not terrorists, regular people. Well, of course, being labeled as terrorists, because that would be the next natural step. But really, truly scary. I think many people have been very worried about data centers, just the amount of land they eat up, the amount of water resources they eat up. But this brings a whole nother level to the conversation, finding out that our utility companies are actually considering diverting resources to these facilities instead of to residents. That is quite shocking. And it's not just that aspect of it. Data centers also cause potential physical health harm. They have a lot of LED lights at night. There's toxins in the water. There's sound issues. There's even a possibility that your next door neighbor could stick a data center in their backyard. Joining us now to discuss is Razi Ann Berry. She is the founder and publisher of the NDNR Journal of Applied Natural Medicine. That is the Naturopathic Doctor News and Review Journal of Applied Natural Medicine. And she has been a great clinical resource for doctors and patients since 2005 with that journal. She is joining us now. Razi, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Kim, thank you so much for being willing to have this conversation.
Well, I think data centers right now, people are starting to become more and more concerned. They're like, what exactly are these data centers? We hear they drink a lot of water. They take a lot of energy. People are worried about living next to them. We hear that they're eating up farmland. I think the best thing to start off is explain to us, like, what are these? In my mind, I'm envisioning a giant, huge warehouse full of computers. I mean, is that what they are?
That's exactly right. That's why I call them server farms, because it's just thousands and thousands upon thousands of servers that store and process the data we use every day, even in the conversation that we're having right now, or in using AI. And so I'm not anti-technology, but there are some concerns, even on top of what you've just been speaking about with the water use, the eminent domain of the land, and the sound bothering people. And I'd like to, talk about some of those, because I'm not against technology, but we need to have these responsible conversations so we can think of innovative ways to solve these problems.
Yeah. I mean, what are these data centers doing exactly? Is this just really for AI? Is that what it's specifically for? Or is it, because I feel like this
It's not
data center thing is kind of new, like we're just finding out about it, and it's maybe because AI is out there and AI needs a lot of computers or something, or have these existed for a while?
Creators, take these 3 apps I built to run my business made with Base 44. They're ready for you at
Well, they have existed for a while. However, AI needs to use a lot more of the energy. For instance, just asking one question of AI can use as much as a 1 bottle of water, for instance. But that's really not my area of expertise. Like, let's talk about the water for a second.
Yeah.
That water that's used, because there's so much heat is created. And so they have to constantly be cooling, and they use cooled water that's chilled using all sorts of chemicals, refrigerants, coolants, and then also antifreeze. And when this water cools these systems, a lot of it evaporates quickly, and then these chemicals are concentrated and they go back into the water supply, back into the groundwater. And these are toxins that are known as forever chemicals, or POPs, persistent organic pollutants, that from the science that we have now, they don't break down, they do accumulate into tissue, and they can cause reproductive harm, cancer, genetic effects. And so while these haven't been studied specifically for data centers, these coolants and refrigerants and antifreezes have been studied. They've been found to be in our pets, in unborn babies, and again, they're persistent. So this is the topic that we're not hearing about when the water issue about data centers.
So not only are they using a lot of water, you know, they're poisoning the water, okay, with forever chemicals. And then I think she's going to speak on how there are microchemicals to where you can't pick it up. You know, you can't see, you know, because you can see certain dirt and certain things, but then it's to the point to where there's certain micro pollution that you can't even see. So not only is it using a lot of water, but it's turning the water supply into filth, man. Okay? It's poisoning the water with forever chemicals, man. Okay? This man is the destroyer of the earth, you know? And it's like this man's heart is hardened to still go forth with this, man. He's destroying the earth that he has to live on. No flesh shall make it. He's making the earth uninhabitable, man. Okay? For his ambition to try to be the Most High through technology, man, he's making the earth uninhabitable, man.
It's talked about.
Because these types of like refrigerants and things would end up leaking or they get flushed. I don't know how exactly it works, but I would
they just
imagine.
kind of go right back into the water, you know, the whole water cycle, and they're very concentrated then. And there's been a few communities who have found like heavy metals and nitrites and such, where these chemicals are very, very concentrated. And that's where a lot of the mutagenic, which is what can harm DNA, and that is really the problem. So I think that if we would about the research, then people that are really smart can come up with ways to solve these problems, because we do need technology, but at what cost? Kim, there's something that's called the precautionary principle in science, and it says that when approaching a new innovation that can be a benefit to the humanity, we also need to look at what harms, even if the harms haven't been thoroughly proven. It's sort of like a proactive approach to look before you leap. And that is what people like me are calling for.
Well, and I think that there's balance in everything. It's like yin and yang. You know, when something is beneficial to society, it's also going to have a negative aspect. And
there's some bullshit, man. Okay? This is because Kim Iverson, she kind of simple, you know. If she have a solid guess on there, you know, I can deal. But she just, a lot of her perspective is simple. Okay? And that's how Esau has the world thinking that something positive has to have some type of negative effect. You know, you have to take the negative with. No, man. Okay? The Lord didn't create the earth to have a negative effect, man. Okay? There's balance, you know, sun, rain, okay, hot, cold. But it's not you have something positive, then you have something toxic. Okay? It's something supposed to help the world, but be toxic to the world at the same time. It's supposed to be helpful for the environment, but destroy the environment at the same time. That's counterproductive. Okay? But that's another thing that the devil will push, as if, you know, the good outweighs the bad. No, it's not supposed to be bad if it's good for the earth. It's not supposed to come with a kickback. Okay, a negativity or destruction. If it's supposed to forward life. You know, you can't forward life with death in the mix, man. Okay, and let's play a little bit of this, and then we're going to go to some precept.
Society can decide whether or not that negative aspect is worth it. Can they tolerate that negative aspect? Can they mitigate that negative aspect somehow? But to just act like, oh no, everything's always great and there's no negatives is not reality. There's always negatives. I mean, even with cars, airplanes, cell phones, computers, television. I mean, we've seen a lot of really beneficial and amazing things, even electricity, you know, and
yes,
they're like a lot of things are extremely beneficial, but they also do come, of course, with their problems. And we do, like you say, we have to assess those problems. We have to look at those problems and say, okay, is it worth it? And a lot of people are looking at these data centers.
And see, let's go here, and let's disprove, their perspective, okay, with precepts, man. All right, because when you go back to the beginning, we always go into it when the Lord, all right, had the Elohim, when the Most High had the Elohim creating everything in the beginning, okay, it didn't have no negative kickback, okay? And you can have technology that doesn't destroy the earth. In our kingdom, we're gonna have all type of technology, man, way more advanced than this, man. It's not going to destroy the earth, okay? Esau is just the devil, okay? And there's a lot of things that he can mitigate, all right? A lot of negative effects, but he wants death in the earth. He wants these negative kickbacks, man, okay? Because he's the devil. He's all about population control, okay? He's all about creating crisis so he can, act like he care, okay? But when you go into creation, man, nothing that was created, was meant, all right, to be harmful, all right, to life, man. Okay, so that BS talking about, well, you got to take the negativity. No, man, there ain't supposed to be no negativity, okay, when it comes to the creation, man. You see, when you go to book of Genesis 1-10, it says, and the Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas, and the Elohim saw that it was good. Now, we always get this word. So even when you go here, okay, and the Most High called the dry land, the Elohim. So let's go to the word good real quick. All right. So let's go to the word good. All right, in the Hebrew, which is tawab, which you always get into it. It says good, pleasant, agreeable, pleasant to the higher nature, good, excellent of its kind. All right, good, rich in value, appropriate, becoming. All right. It says glad, happy, prosperous of man-centered nature. No, so you can't have, all right, the Most High didn't create an apple, but then the apple give you cancer. It has a chance to give you cancer. Okay. The Most High didn't put a general surgeon warning label on a banana. Okay. You have to eat something, but you got a warning on. No, you're supposed to eat something to nourish yourself, but you got a warning on. Okay. That's Esau. This man's kingdom. He's just wicked, man. Okay. It said glad, happy, prosperous, of man sensual in nature, of good understanding. Okay. It says a good thing, a benefit, a welfare, prosperity, happiness, man. Okay. So when the Most High, all right, through the Elohim was creating everything, man. Everything was for benefit, prosperity, happiness. It was agreeable. Scripture speak about it being agreeable. You see? So this whole madness of, you gotta take, it has to have some type of negative. You gotta take the negative. No, man. Okay. The Lord didn't create, all right, the earth to have negative effects, man. Esau was the negative effect. Okay, this nigga is the problem. He's the dis-ease in the earth. Okay, it all comes from him. So even when you go here, when you go on in the Bible, because the one thing too, just like people act like, because you got this saying in Western culture, that y'all argue married couple, like that's a part of marriage. You and your woman having a rivalry against each other. Okay. Or having, this hatred towards one another. Okay, no, this is Esau BS, man. Okay, this is the BS that comes, all right, with Esau's kingdom, man. Because even on that, just to prove a point, all right, I think that's in Proverbs, because the same word, all right, and they say this, in the Christian church, the pastor will marry you to a demon. Then tell you, a man find a wife, he finds a good thing. All right. But just going into the intent that the Lord had, because even when you go back to Genesis, when he said he was going to give Adam a helpmeet, well, the helpmeet was an assistant, all right, to Adam and his purpose. A woman is supposed to be a man's assistant. Okay, she's supposed to complement his purpose. She's supposed to be agreeable to his purpose. Okay, so that's why you go to Proverbs 18:22. Whoso find a wife, find a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. So the Lord doesn't give you a wife so you can argue with these niggas, so y'all can fall out, so y'all can fight, have separation. You know, you sleep on the couch, okay, and all that. No, man, the Lord didn't create that for that. The Lord didn't create the earth, all right, for us to be at war with the earth, to where you got to avoid this, you got to avoid, you know, the things that you have to avoid, especially here in America, man. All right, the Lord created those things for good. You see, you're going to get that as well. But when you go, just to go into this word, all right, whoso find a wife, find of a good thing. Now, when you go into this word good, it's the same word. And all right, and I'm just bringing this out as an example, okay, because all that society make it seem like, you know, you're just supposed to be at war with your woman. That's natural. Y'all married, y'all argue like a married couple, but it's the same word to wild. All right, was what? Welfare, benefit, good thing. Okay, same thing. Okay, pleasant, agreeable. You see, good, pleasant, agreeable. Okay, well, Esau pushed that madness as if you're supposed to be at war with the woman. Like it's normal for you to be at war with your wife, man. Okay, and y'all supposed to have this rivalry. No, man. Okay, that's this man's BS and philosophy, man. Okay, let's go from there. All right, real quick. When you go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, you know, but when she said that, I'm like, man, this nigga tripping. But this is what Esau pushed. Now, when you go into, all right, this is speaking King Solomon describing the attributes of wisdom. Okay, so when you go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 22, it said, for wisdom, which is the work of all things, taught me. For in her is an understanding spirit holy, all right, one only, manifold, subtile, lively, clear, undefiled, plain, not subject to hurt. Okay, not subject to hurt. So when you go into true wisdom, it's not subject to hurt. Okay, just like now, Esau give you, you know, these medicines, these commercials for these different medicines that's supposed to be a cure. Okay, but then you go into all these side effects of the medicines, it's worse than what it was trying to cure. Okay, true wisdom ain't like that. True wisdom is not subject to hurt, to where you gotta deal with some type of negative kickback, man. Okay, true wisdom don't operate like that, man. But Esau, the scripture say, the knowledge of wickedness, okay, is not wisdom. You see, if a brother can post it, something that's Sirach 19:22. Okay, it says, loving the thing that is good, quick, which cannot be letted, ready to do good. Okay, it says, kind to man, stand fast, sure, free from care, having all power, overseeing all things, and going through all understanding, pure and most subtile spirit. So it says, what? Kind to man, ready to do good, not subject to hurt. Okay, and these are the characteristics of true wisdom, man. Okay, well, this devil makes it seem in order to, you know, every benefit has to have some type of negative effect, but long as the benefits outweigh the negative, nah, man. Okay, it's wicked, man. All right, this man has created diseases where the very act of bringing life into the earth, you can die. This man has sprinkled death into everything, man. Okay, that's why you go here real quick. We got one more, and we'll get back to the video, you know. Well, Kim, you know, Iverson, her simple ass, man, you know. Well, you got to take the negative, you see. This is the book of, oh yeah, I'm going to get this. 39. So let's go here to the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse 20, I think 25. Yep. You know, because even when you go into the inventions that make life easier, a lot of them came from Jake, you know, and Gad, you see, and even some Israelite women, a lot of Israelite women, you know, I always go into, you know, Katherine Johnson and, you know, Dr. Gladys West, you know, them my aunties, man, they went in, you know, with a lot of the GPS. Okay, well, that was possible through Dr. Gladys West, man. Okay, to keep those satellites in orbit, you know, when they used the math that came from Katherine Johnson, these Israelite women, man. So a lot of creation, there's a lot of Jake that created a lot of things, you know, even this AI, you know, a lot of the engineers, okay, and mathematicians dealing with this AI was Jake, man. Okay, but Esau just turned everything. He's the negative effect in the earth, man. Okay, because technology is not wicked. It's the way that this nigga uses it, and he add death to it. Okay, so when you go to Sirach 39:25, it says, "For the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners." Okay, evil things for sinners. So from the beginning, going back to the beginning, everything was good, everything was agreeable, everything benefited, everything worked together. It was harmony. Okay, they didn't have to deal with pollution. They didn't have to deal with undrinkable water. Okay, forever chemicals. You see, GMOs. Okay, cancer. They weren't dealing with these things in the beginning. Man, the earth was pure. Okay, Esau he's the dis-ease. You see, it says, so evil things for the sinners, the principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, salt, flour, wheat, honey, milk, the blood of the grape, oil, and clothing. Okay, all these things are for good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. Okay, so this man turned these things into evil. Okay, they're good to the godly. Okay, but now you in a society where you gotta try to avoid bread, you gotta avoid honey, you got to avoid dairy. Why? Okay, people ain't supposed to be lactose intolerant, man. Okay, this nigga society that has people, all right, intolerant to things that were meant to be good. Okay, you got certain people that's allergic to fruit, man. That's the rulership is off, man. Not the fruit, it's the rulership. Okay, so this man turns things that the Lord created for us to enjoy in the earth, and he's turned these things into death, man. You know, and tell you what, you know, it's supposed to be like that. All right, and that's why at the end of the day, it's just time to get this nigga out of here, man. You know, so let's go back to the video. I'm gonna get that precept the brother got as well. Okay, this is the book of Sirach. All right, chapter 19, verse 22. It said, the knowledge, this is brother servants of Yahweh Shah 144. It said, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. Okay, so the knowledge of wickedness is not true wisdom. You know, he hypes himself. That's why I say he hyped himself up. Okay, as if he got things figured out, as if he's tapped into some things, and you know, mankind is transcended now. We're on the, you know, he always hyping himself up, man. But when you really go into, all right, this man's technology and how he uses it, and you know, it's like, nah, nigga, this is off, man. You know, so for people to, for this devil to try to surveil the earth, he has to kill the earth. For him to play the Most High, he's killing the earth. Okay, that's not wisdom. You see, he tried to, you know, I say he hype himself up and show you that the AI can do this and that, and this thing can do this, and this technology can do this. We can split the gene. Nigga, you're killing the earth. Why does it that? So what you're doing don't matter if you're killing the earth. If you're making the earth uninhabitable, nothing that you're doing is great. Okay? Because you can put fish cells into the strawberry and get strawberries year round, nigga. That ain't meant for that. Okay? And you talk about this nigga all day when it comes to his wickedness and his him overhyping himself, man. But nah, man, let's get back to this, man, because it get worse, man. She gonna go into some more things. The little chick on the right, Kim Simple as don't know too much, but she have like she have a few decent guests sometimes, all right.
And they're not feeling like they're worth it. I would imagine, especially usually younger people adopt technology a lot faster than older generations, and older generations might be looking at these data centers and thinking, why are we doing this? Like, I don't even use ChatGPT, so why do I need this? I don't need that. I'm barely on the internet. I still have a flip phone, right? And they're like, why do we need these data centers?
Well, our government and industry wants the United States to be a leader in this area, and I certainly understand that. But do we want to be the losers when it comes to public health? Let's take you mentioned electricity. So artificial light at night, which in research and in science is called ALAN or ALAN, artificial light at night. It is a very huge problem, also known as light pollution. And this is something that I think more people really need to be educated about. Light at even just the amount of one candle at night can disrupt your melatonin and circadian rhythm. Now, when melatonin is suppressed, it can lead to breast cancer, prostate cancer, and we're now learning even dementia as much as 40 years earlier than symptoms usually appear. And the thing that's so concerning isn't just that it's, I'm not going to get such a great night's sleep. It is your master antioxidant. Melatonin is the master antioxidant. And that is why we know when do we heal the most? We heal most rapidly when we're sleeping. And melatonin has a lot to do with that. It also disrupts hormones. And an example I like to use is think of like cannabis or marijuana growers. They use light to manipulate the level of THC in a plant. And farmers that grow foods hydroponically can use light sometimes to manipulate.
If you're not using a business travel platform like Navan, you're really missing out. Hi, I'm Ellie, and I'm the
how a plant grows and the constituents, inside that plant. It does the same thing to the human body. Since electric light, we've had earlier and earlier puberty, and artificial light can cause precocious puberty or early puberty. And we also know breast cancer. We know this through research that's done with shift work and nighttime nurses. And in fact, here's something so interesting, Kim. Women that are completely blind have a 50% lesser risk of getting breast cancer because they don't have that same cycle. So artificial light at night, it is so interesting. It also confuses pollinators, and it can disrupt your thyroid hormones. And when people think, light doesn't really implicate in cancer, but since it does disrupt sleep as well, we do know that can cause cancer. But here's something that is so fascinating, is that your body reacts to light even when your eyes are closed, because you have receptors in your skin called neuropsin that take in light and mediate melatonin, even if your eyes are covered. So you can't really get away from it by just putting like a mask over your eyes at night.
So with these data centers,
and this devil has he has everybody on such an unnatural way, because she went into, and you can see how everything is already set up, like the body, when you sleep at night and the melatonin, you release those melatones and it heals your body and it prepares you for the next day, showing you that it's not even supposed to be a night shift, man. She's went to talking about the people that work in these night shifts, your body being exposed to light overnight, But I say that's the balance. Like you say, you have the day and then you have the night. In the night, your body, release those melatones and start to heal itself. And then in the daytime, all right, you have those birds chirping in the morning, okay? And those birds, You know, they awaken your senses, they awaken your creativity, they open the flowers and the smell of the flowers. You know, it open your creativity for the day. Okay, and then the sun, as the sun sets, you know, the body begins to mellow out. Okay, so he has so many people just out of touch, you know, with nature, man, with the natural way. You know, if a brother want to post there how everything work for the good of another, okay, everything supposed to work good and complement each other, man. But this man has people because he's at war with Earth, and he has everyone else at war with the Earth because it's such an unnatural way, man. You know, and then I think it's a precept in Psalms, man. The elder brother our Warren in Alabama used to always bring it out about how, you know, the Lord made, you know, the day, the night, you know, for the beast. I think that's in Psalms, man. It's been a long time. Okay. And I can't even think of how to word it, you know, but it goes into how the nighttime was made for the beast and pretty much the daytime was made, you know, for us. Okay. But yeah, man, this devil, man, he has everyone just so out of rhythm and out of whack, man. You know. But let's play some more.
And so so are you saying that they emit a lot of light? Is that what's happening? Or are they inside of these warehouses?
Yes, they emit a lot of light. They're very well lit facilities, and they're gigantic. And you can see a lot of people online are starting to take pictures and see this big halo and how it completely just lights up the night sky. It's impossible for these communities to have a truly dark night. Every level of the food chain. I mean, again, I'm not against AI, I'm not against technology, but these data centers, these server farms, they're implicated with all of these environmental toxins. So the water, the artificial light that affects our immune system, on our hormone system, and then also the toxins from the EMF, which is another form of toxicity, these electromagnetic fields. Now, here's something that's very interesting about that is Dr. Deborah Davis, who was part of an award-winning and Nobel Prize-winning environmental group. She's calling EMF the new asbestos because it's not just it's not just the power, but it's the erratic nature of the wave that oscillates the cell in a way that can cause what is called a reactive oxygen species, or like an oxygen insult. So it is why we have antioxidants, for instance. So while there are very few studies that want to look at if EMF causes cancer, there are a lot of studies that show these reactive oxygen species can cause cancer and do cause cancer. The other thing that's interesting is the sound. And there's a little bit of a dirty trick that researchers use when they're measuring the sound that you were speaking about off camera is bothering so many residents near these data centers. And they completely disregard the low sound, the lower frequency sounds. Well, those have shown in studies with flight mechanics and people that work in the different kinds of power centers, but it can cause fibrosis in the lungs, it can cause scarring of the heart. And so they completely just cut that out. So it's like a dirty trick they use when they measure the sound. But these sound waves, they penetrate concrete. They're so long that they wrap around buildings, and they even go very deep for miles into the earth. So there aren't really any currently known barriers to protect from these sound waves, these low-level vibrations. And that's, again, why I think it's so important. And I'm just so grateful to you for being willing to have these conversations, because if we have these conversations, then we can have all of these smart people who are who are deciding all this technology. They can look at the problem and find solutions that serve all of us.
Yeah. What do you think the right solution is? I mean, why are they not choosing to build these data centers further from where?
Because Esau wicked. Okay? Esau the wicked. Y'all don't get it yet? This nigga is wicked. You know, people still have this idea like this nigga is like he just like he just is making a mistake. Like he's not building them further away from people you know, there's something he missed. No, this nigga is the wicked, man. He's intentionally doing this. He finna get rid of a lot of you niggas, man. Okay, that's why he's doing this. He's finna get rid of a lot of you niggas, man. Okay, this nigga don't care. Okay, they still try to act like Esau has some type of humanity about himself. No. Okay, he do not care about you people. You people are going nothing to him. Okay, you have these few rich oligarch families, man. Okay, and everyone else is going, and everyone else is replaceable and indispensable. I mean, dispensable, man, disposable. Everyone else is disposable, even nature. Okay, wildlife, forestry, all is disposable to this devil, man. Okay, they be coming up with these simple solutions, like, you know, like Esau going, why did I think of that? I can't build them farther away from people to stop from destroying people. No, he wants to destroy people, man. Okay, it's like you know, you simple Americans, okay, don't get it. This nigga show you every second of the day that he don't care. Okay, he shows you every second of the day he don't care, and you still trying to put some type of you know, what you want to call it, like he has some type of consideration. You want to act like this nigga is being considerate of people when he makes these decisions. No, it's the exact opposite, man. Okay, let's fast forward because it goes some more, but that goes back into when they try to come up, when they try to go into a solution. Ain't no solution itself for what's in the scriptures, man. Yahweh Shai coming back and getting this nigga out of here, man. You know, they try to make it seem like this nigga got some type of compassion somewhere. He don't.
Cortisol. And these data centers, some people have been going out into the field. They'll put the sound, they'll measure that very loud, horrible humming sound, and they'll put it through a noise canceller. And then only then can you even hear the birds.
Wow. I've seen studies done where people talk to plants, and like, there was a study where where somebody spoke, where you've done, well, they did a study where they like talked to plants and they were really positive to one plant. And then one plant, they said a lot of mean things and were hateful to the plant. And the plant that they said mean things to, and they give it the same sunlight, same water, same everything. But then the plant that they were negative to died. And the plant they were positive to like thrived. And then they also had like the neutral plant that they did nothing to. And that one was kind of in the middle. And so it really showed that, like you're right, sound. Clearly there's some sort of connection that we all have. We're all interconnected in some way. Here's one thing that also popped up, by the way, that is a bit concerning. So when I was looking up how much land do data centers need, I came across right away this article. It was like right at the top of the search. Does my land qualify for a data center? So people are wanting to put data centers on their land, saying that, and this is a guide for, well, what is required in order to put a data center on your land? And I guess it's because the demand is so high for land that these companies are willing to pay a fortune, and farmers are willing to sell off their farmland. So not only are we having a shortage of water and electricity that's being diverted to these data centers, but also farmers are looking at selling their land.
AI agents. Well, hey, don't be scared. Here's how Monday.com makes agents clear, easy, and user.
Some of these smaller data centers, need maybe 10 acres. And so a farmer might be willing to sell off some acreages in order to support their farm. I mean, farmers are struggling. They're barely making ends meet. And then they get this opportunity to have a data center next to them to really cure, essentially, or solve all of their financial problems.
And the devil, he intentionally did that, because there's been an attack on farmers, for a while, especially since 2020, the lockdown, there's been an attack on private farms. So in his mind, this devil is a win, because he get these farmers to sell their land because he creates desperation. All right, he just been wreaking havoc on farmers, man. From tariffs, to certain trade deals, agriculture trade deal that he's made with other countries, and he's been a complete terror to the farmer. Okay, so he's created the desperation amongst farmers, and for him it's a win-win because he wants to get rid of farming. All right, then he gets to put up another data center. So now you have a lot of these farmers that are selling their land, all right, to these tech companies, man, for data centers, man. Okay, so this man is trying to do away completely with the natural world, and set up a completely synthetic system where you depend on this nigga for every calorie, man. Okay, this is what he wants to bring, man, and this is what we're praying our power to come back and destroy, man. So let's play some more.
It looks like a lot of them are really interested in that.
I understand how farmers are in a crisis right now. I also read that there are some companies considering or in development of like individual mini data centers that you can put in your own yard. And, I believe in, do what you want to do, but when it affects the light or the sound waves or the radiation affects my home, my pets, my plants, that's where I feel really concerned about that. And these are really difficult questions, but it's just so important.
It's so interesting. Now everybody's rushing to think, what are my HOAs? What do my HOA rules say?
Yeah, and this is a beautiful precept the brother got. GMS DC Taza Dagda Yara Proverbs 13:23 says a poor person's farm may produce much food, but injustice sweeps it all away. Okay? The injustice of who? Esau, Edom, the rulers, man. Okay? And so this man's intentionally, creating desperation in these farmers, amongst these farmers, all right, and having them being in buying financially, man. And then he comes with these, these above market averages, these above market prices for this land, and then he gets to destroy, all right, farming, all right, private farming, okay, and establish, a death center. Might well call him a death center, man. Okay, so let's play a little more, and then get the precepts you brother got.
We're going to have to make sure that we write in now. It's like first you had to worry about your neighbors with putting root chickens in their backyard or something, or having too many dogs or too many cars out front. But now we're going to have to worry about, and by the way, no data centers in your backyard either. We have to modify all of our HOA rules.
Oh my gosh. In my community where I live, many, many schoolyards are putting up 5G towers because the companies are paying the school districts money. And I think that's dangerous as well. I think that's like kind of a smaller problem than what we're looking at. This is where kids are trying to learn, and they're trying to, these pollutions, these toxic your hippocampus. Their studies have shown that, and that's where learning and memory is done. So I feel it's sort of ironic that we're placing these technologies are supposed to help us process data, but human data processing, whether it's an elderly person that's getting like an early dementia or a young child who's having trouble thinking, are we connecting the dots? Often we just poo-poo it. Oh, that big 5G tower, that can't have anything to do with my child's inability to concentrate. But these are real electromagnetic fields that do affect the human body in the world that we live in, and we have to pay attention.
Welcome to the next generation of website creation, Wix Harmony. Get the power of AI.
Yeah. Well, these are really interesting questions. And these are, I think, like I said at the beginning, people are concerned, like, well, what about these giant warehouses eating up the farmland and it's going to be an eyesore? But these are the things you're bringing up are other interesting aspects that people should be thinking about, and maybe even somehow figuring out whether or not, kind of having some sort of foreknowledge of a data center plan in the area. So where people live, finding out maybe from the government, do you have to notify us that there's a plan to build a data center?
Right.
And
like
if so, what's the process?
Sort of environmental. Yes,
Well,
like an
and just also for
environmental impact
neighbors,
study. Yes.
communities to get together and say, we don't want it right here. We like to actually, we don't want to be looking at a giant campus, an AI campus right over here. And so we'd prefer this
know,
to
and
not be here.
and we want a dark night so we can sleep well and we can be healthy and heal at night. We're also busy all day long, and we need the nighttime to heal and rest, and for children to grow, and for unborn babies to develop, and for our pets to live long healthy lives, and for pollinators to be able to find the nectar in a flower. It really impacts everything, like I said in the beginning, from the bottom of the food chain all the way to the top.
And that's what, the precept brother's been putting up. Oh yeah, and the brother found that too. Yeah, the brother now found that precept I was looking for. Yeah, that's the one, bro. Yeah, but let's get this real quick, because when you go into the book of Sirach 42 and 24, it's the brother GMS DC Tyler Dagda Yara. All right, it says 42 and 24 says, all things are double one against another, and he have made nothing imperfect. It says, one thing establishes the good of another, and who shall be filled with beholding the glory? Yeah, so everything established the good of another. Okay, everything that was created from the beginning, it complements, even you look at a buzzard. Okay, well, it complements because when animals die they self, okay, those buzzards come, all right, and they come and clean the earth. And what the buzzards don't eat, all right, the maggots come and get. All right. And then whatever the maggots don't kill, the body was meant to break back down into the earth, man. Okay. So everything has a purpose, man. And we can go on and go into different purposes of nature, but just giving examples how, everything has its purpose, and a lot of things have multi-purpose, man. And they all benefit and forward life in the earth. Okay. Going back until she kept speaking about, their light pollution, man. To where there's never true darkness, man. Those plants, I'm just learning that plants need darkness, man. They need the sun, but they need the darkness as well. Okay. When you go into Psalms 104:19, this is brother GMS all in 144. All right, the brother Anai says he appointed the moon for seasons, the sun knoweth, all right, is going down, because everything was made to be in complete order to serve the purpose of how about Shemal Shai? It says, thou makest darkness, all right, and thou makest darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest, all right, doth creep forth. The young lions roar after their prey and seek their meat, all right, from the Most High, because everything is provided from the Most High, man. See, the Lord has a care for all creation. Esau ain't gonna care about how the animals eat, man. He just want to be in control just for his ego, just to say I'm the Most High. Okay, he's not concerned about all these things, all right, that the Most High had, and this is the Most High's daily, okay, this is the Most High's day to day, that everything is cared for in the earth, all creation is cared for in the earth, and this is just a day to day to the Most High, and it's simple for him to do. You see, that's why Esau has to try to depopulate so much to even try to do this, man. The Most High don't have to depopulate, all right, to govern the world. It's light work to him. Okay, it can be 70 trillion people. It still will be light work to the Most High to govern, all right, existence, man. Okay, but this nigga is limited, so he has tried to limit the population and herd everybody on these smart cities to try to play the Most High, man. Okay, he's the goddamn fraud, man. You see, but going back to the point, the sun arises, they gather themselves together and they lay them down, all right, in their dens. Okay, so when the sun comes up, you see, a lot of animals, okay, they fall back. Okay, verse 23 says, man, all right, man go forth unto his work and to his labor until the evening. You see, so man go forth in the morning, he does his labor until the evening, showing you that the night shift is really wicked, man. We gotta do what we gotta do, brothers, sisters work the night shift, man. But really, when you go into the night shift is really wicked, man, because the body, begins to heal, it begins to, settle down in the evening, and then it heals itself at night. But when you got that light pollution, it destroys that natural process of your body, being able to heal, man, because your body is still picking up that light. Even with your eyes closed, the body is picking up the light through your skin, So let's oh yeah, I think it's one more part she go to. But then the brothers can get that Revelation 11:18 Bible shot too. But I think it's one more part that she mentioned.
Well, Razi, thank you so much for being here and giving us some insight into this, and I guess shedding more light on no pun intended on what these data centers could what they could bring to our community and what they don't bring to the community, and things that people should be thinking about. And this, like you said, the more aware we are, the more knowledge we have, then the more informed we are. We can then say, hey, we're not really interested in having one right here, especially if it's going to threaten our water supply, our electric supply, our night sky, the health of the.
I think that was it. I might have skipped it earlier, but it's all good. But let's get a couple more precepts, because at the end of the day, all right, Esau just gotta get out of here, man. Okay, it all boils down to this. This is the brother GMS all in, and brother Anah. All right, Revelation 11:18, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou, all right, should give reward unto thy servants, okay, the prophets, okay. So it's time for the earth to be, all right, cleansed. Okay, it's time for the earth to be ran in righteousness. It's time for the earth, all right, to be restored. Okay, because then with this nigga in power, man, all right, the earth will just self-destruct. The earth will be unlivable, uninhabitable. The food supply will be ruined. Everything will be ruined if this nigga stayed in power, man. The Lord didn't create the earth. Okay, matter of fact, I know he'd be cutting it off. I don't know why I do that every time on Psalms 18, but let me go get it real quick. There's another one I want to get. And we close out on. So yeah, let's go to the book of Revelation 11:18. Finish reading the rest of it. They always do, they cut it off. The part will destroy them that destroy the earth. Yeah, you done, man. Esau, you done, man. Okay. You proven Esau, you proven why the Most High didn't give you the birthright, man. Okay. You shown why. Revelation 11:18, it says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, in the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldst give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great. So that's the prophets, the first fruits. Okay, the rest of the 1/3 men, women, and children are going to be rewarded. Okay, with immortality, man. Okay, those new bodies. Okay, it says small and great, and should it destroy them which destroy the earth. Okay, so it's time for the Lord to destroy them that destroy the earth, man. Remove them from power, destroy their rulership. Okay, put them in captivity. All right, we're gonna get their labor out them niggas, man, and then they out of here, man. Okay, in 1,000 years, it's gonna be a lot of rigorous labor of restoring the earth back to paradise, man. You devil, you're gonna get a lot of labor out you destroying. Repairing, okay, what you destroyed, man. You see, under Yahushua, the earth will return back to paradise, man. And the Lord didn't create the earth, all right, to operate under filth and pollution and to be toxic and you got to fight against the earth. No, man. When you go here, Isaiah 45:17, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded world, okay, without end. Okay, and this world goes into the age of Israel. Okay, so there's an everlasting salvation coming to the nation of Israel. You see, and it's not going to be us, in the spiritual realm. okay, just floating around all day. No, it's going to be in the earth. Okay, that's why you go to verse 18. Said, for thus said the Lord, that created the heavens, the Most High, that formed the earth and made it. He have established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else. So the Lord didn't create the earth in vain. He created the earth to be a paradise, man. You know, and to be a gift. You see, beginning with the nation of Israel. Okay, he didn't create the earth in vain. And Esau wants to create this synthetic world, destroy the natural world, you know, and try to create a goddamn virtual world. Okay. Nah, man, the Lord created the earth to be enjoyed, man. All right. The earth has so many uses that are not being tapped into because Esau is not in tune with the world. He's not in tune with the earth, man. Okay. Because guess why? The earth doesn't, he's not compatible with the earth. The earth rejects this nigga, man. You see? So the Lord's getting ready to transition, all right, from Esau into Jacob, okay? And it's going to be an everlasting righteous rulership, and the earth is going to flourish, man. You know, and everything in the earth is going to flourish, man. You see? So, yeah, we'll leave it there. The point was made. All right. So, Lord will you, brothers. All right. And you few sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom. And I'm gonna put this link in here as well, in case brothers wanna go back into it.